phone.
आज हम देखने वाले हैं about living and fighting in high altitudes. But at the outset, let me tell you, we play cricket while they suck oxygen. The pictures say it all, right? But then we're going to talk beyond the pictures, and for that, I have with me General Kulkarni. General Kulkarni, welcome to Gunner Shot once again. It's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you, sir. Always a pleasure interacting with you because you're one man who's been all over. So, interacting with someone who's familiar with the ground, who's familiar with the enemy, who's familiar with our own self, I think it's excellent. Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And the same thing with you. In fact, I always tell everyone कि अगर कोई है जो बिल्कुल एक हाई एल्टीट्यूड सोल्जर है, वो तो जनरल कुलकर्णी है.
I
He
didn't know,
served
sir.
in all
Your
ranks, right?
magnanimity,
And is
sir.
one of the first few people who set foot on the Siachen Glacier and at Siala, which is, living beyond something. Okay. So what we'll do is that, आज नहीं, but 10-15 days back, I saw a few, something in the Twitter. एंड उससे मेरे को ना ये आइडिया आया, यार ये पीएलए वाले ऐसे रहते कैसे हैं, क्या करते हैं, वगैरह वगैरह. देन आई सेड लेट्स सी, क्योंकि हम सबको पता है एल्टीट्यूड में रहना एक चीज है एंड वहां लड़ना एक और चीज है. वो दो बहुत अंतर है. और मेरे ख्याल में अभी तक पीएलए को वहां रहना ही नहीं आया है. वो लड़ना तो थोड़ा दूर की बात है. सो एंड एक्चुअली ये मैंने देखा था, ये ट्वीट देखा था नेपाली करस्पॉन्डेंस से. एंड नेपाली करस्पॉन्डेंस व्हिच आई सॉ इज ऑलवेज quite stable in their assessment. He says PLA will depend on rocket force and swarm drones in a war situation with India. As this is important, जो मैं अभी बताने वाला हूँ. As Chinese infantry mandatorily requires oxygen cylinders to operate about 10,000 feet. It appears that there's a mandate that whenever they go about 10,000, they need to have oxygen with them. And Tibet military garrison has built oxygen plants and hyperbaric chambers in Naku, Shannon, वगैरह वगैरह. But important thing, so you might find yourself in a situation they might be reluctant to fight you. So it might be a non-contact warfare. Then I went into it a little, and I found in this article in PLA Daily how PLA is provisioning oxygen for troops, and these fellows who are sitting on their beds and reading books are sucking oxygen. Okay, and during training they are having oxygen. And same वो picture हमने देखा है. And they say that portable barracks and oxygen therapy enhance PLA fighting strength. I mean, I don't know. If you ever heard of this in high altitude. And then this is how they are trained, and this thing who have oxygen. They built all these extensive facilities for oxygen. लगता है कुछ they वो डरते हैं, right? And high altitude is lot of high altitude warfare, as we all know, is all about psychological conditioning. We'll talk of it, in fact. But our troops, हम वहाँ क्रिकेट खेलते हैं, कबड्डी खेलते हैं, और ऐसे पिकनिक भी मनाते हैं, ठीक? So they are different. There's something either they are doing wrong or we are doing wrong. So I thought we'll discuss with you. And we all know high altitude में जैसे you go up, the temperature falls, right? And every and the air pressure also drops. As a result, in high altitude, there's a big effect on your body. You sleep less in high altitude. Blood becomes thicker. You urinate more often. Breathing becomes heavier. And heart starts beating faster, all because you don't get enough oxygen. And oxygen blood में नहीं है तो फिर ये body becomes sluggish and all that. We've all gone through all this. I mean, this is to just tell everyone ki where we are getting at finally. तो इस चीज को देखते हुए I can always already see a smile on your face, right? So, what are your thoughts about, just explain to people what first living in altitude, then we'll get to fighting in altitude, and then what is your assessment of PLA in this whole story? आपका बताइए. Yeah, all yours.
थैंक यू वेरी मच सर, थैंक यू वेरी मच. एट द आउटसेट आई थिंक आपने जिस प्रकार से सब कुछ समझाने की कोशिश की, ये बहुत जरूरी है. और हाई ऑल्टीट्यूड में खासकर यू हैव टू बी फिजिकली फिट एंड मेंटली रोबस्ट. दैट इज द बेसिक दिस थिंग. एंड एज हम लोग भी सब जगह कहते हैं कि डोंट बी अ गामा इन द लैंड ऑफ लामा.
And
ये
of Lama.
बहुत जरूरी है. इसलिए कहते हैं क्योंकि वी ऑल कम फ्रॉम प्लेन्स and generally we are not used to this kind of the environment where lack of oxygen, extreme sunshine, very cold, sometimes blizzardous weather, and frozen water. You find it very difficult even if you've gone round to the washroom, until unless there is water which is heated up and you are able to this thing even wash hands or even anything and everything. You suddenly find that उस वक्त तो नहीं पता चलेगा, पर थोड़े घंटे बाद या एक आध दिन के बाद पता चल जाएगा कि that wound is very very difficult to heal once you've got on. So you have to be very careful. Lips are chapped. You have to constantly use cream to ensure that you're able to speak, breathe, eat, sleep, so many things. तो इसलिए every time you would also high altitude में जब भी हम लोग जाते थे, and generally when we say high altitude, it is 9,000 feet and above. So between
Yeah.
9,000 and feet, 2 feet to about say 12,000, then 12,000 to 14,000, and then 14,000 and above. These kind of और acclimatization जो है वो बहुत जरूरी है, because without acclimatizing in the first stage of acclimatization जो 9,000 वाला है वो बहुत जरूरी है. एक दफा 6 दिन का proper acclimatization when everybody goes through it and it does it religiously as what is specified without any this thing, no shortcut, you'll find yourself much better off. Some bodies take a little longer to adapt. Some bodies get adapt faster. To say that someone is hefty, tall, very tough looking can adapt faster, and the other one ऐसे कुछ नहीं है. It all depends. You can suddenly find a very meek looking chap who otherwise suddenly adapts and adjusts very well, maybe in a particular time. Again, when he comes back from leave, he is unable to adjust and adapt himself. So all this, every time you go out on leave, come back from leave, you have to properly acclimatize, whether you're at 9,000 or operating from 12,000 or operating beyond 14,000. Acclimatization is a must. That उसमें कोई किसी को भी शक नहीं रखना है और जैसे बताते हैं वैसे करना है. That is very very important. Having said this, जब भी हाई ऑल्टीट्यूड में काम करते हैं,
what I would just give a little outline of what this acclimatization process is.
Yeah. Now, acclimatization is the first day when you get back, the first day of the high altitude, the first day is rest, just rest. In the sense, even now, पहले क्या होता था, even to the tourists who went to Ladakh, the tourists would immediately, planning, hoping कि 3-4 दिन are there to themselves, and they let's utilize backs of it. Now, even now, when you go to Ladakh, they insist that the day of your arrival, you must rest. And very, very important to rest, because only after that rest, you really come to know whether your body is adjusted, because you might just get a slight headache, or you may not feel uneasy, or you have a little sort of breathlessness, and then you consult the doctor and tells you, okay, this is perfectly fine, your heartbeats are okay, or otherwise, whatever that is. So the first day is rest. The second day is a little walk. You just walk a little bit and come back. The third day that you are this thing, again a little extended walk, maybe with a slight rise, so that you get used to climbing a bit of it. The third day is you start climbing about say 500 feet, 1,000 feet, go there and then come back together. So this is how you slowly and steadily, first day rest, second day just walk, the next day that you climb another 500, then third day you climb a little more, and then the nearest peak that is there, you just go walk up and come back again without any load. Like maybe a day before, that is the fifth day, a little load, or just a small pack on your, and you're walking across. But in all of it, what is very important is your breathing and your stepping must coincide, and it must the right word to be is that if it is like a symphony, breathing and
Rhythm.
your walking is synchronization. The synchronization, rhythmic,
Yeah.
absolutely rhythmic, is what is the most important. And why is that important? Every time it synchronizes, it's rhythmic. You will never get tired. But the tiredness comes because your walking is faster than your breathing. Then you'll get tired. So your breathing and your walking must be synchronized. If that is synchronized, you'll not get tired. And somebody calls you, को बुलाता है आपको, आप दौड़ो नहीं, आराम से पैदल चलो, आप पहुंच जाओ. There's nothing to feel bad about कि कोई सीनियर है आपको बुलाया है तो थक दौड़ करके जाने की आदत होती है, बिल्कुल नहीं, आराम से चलो. और वो भी समझते हैं ये हाई ऑल्टीट्यूड है
Yeah.
या भागना नहीं है. तीसरी बड़ी बात बहुत जरूरी मैं सबको बोलता था कि हाथ में पेट में रोटी, हाथ में सोटी, चाल छोटी. दैट मीन्स योर स्टमक, यू मस्ट ऑलवेज हैव फूड. एक वक्त का खाना आपके पेट में होना चाहिए. अगर वो नहीं है, अगर आप सोचे कि नहीं नहीं मेरे को अच्छा नहीं लगता खाना नहीं खाऊं, यू विल गेट हेडेक, यू विल नॉट बी एबल टू फील कंफर्टेबल until and unless your body gets some energy, and that energy is a must. And that is why they say a heavy breakfast is something which will see you through, and very important that before the sun and everything comes out, as you जैसे जैसे आगे जाऊंगा बताऊंगा, तो बहुत जरूरी कि पेट में रोटी, हाथ में सोटी. Soटी in the sense because of the blizzardous weather, because of the way you're climbing up and down, you can tend to lose your balance. So when you have a stick in your hand, then it becomes a third point of contact. You have 2 feet and the third point of contact. So obviously, with 3 contact points with the earth, you will not fall. Because if you fall, you just might roll down. You might hurt. So therefore, they say हाथ में सोटी, चाल छोटी. Why do they say chal choti? As we discussed just a minute before, rhythmic, like what you said, sir. Rhythmic, absolutely rhythmic, synchronized. Your breathing and your stepping must be synchronized. If that works out, then you find you're perfectly fine. You'll never get tired. You'll never have a headache. You won't have a problem. Headache क्यों होता है? Because खाना नहीं खाया है, पानी नहीं पिया है, constipation हो गया है, and therefore the problems start. So all these things are very important. And whatever the doctor tells us, yet another very important thing हम लोग हाई ऑल्टीट्यूड में करते हैं, बॉडी सिस्टम. बॉडी, आपको बॉडी डोमिनेट होता है, ये आपका बॉडी. बॉडी, व्हाई इज ही देयर विथ यू? ये सबके साथ. क्यों? अगर आपको सर दर्द हो रहा है, आपको पेट दर्द हो रहा है, आपको दिल अच्छा नहीं लग रहा है, और यू आर नॉट एबल टू स्लीप एट नाइट, you must be able to confide in him, yeah, I'm not feeling well. I'm not feeling as bright as I was feeling just maybe a few hours back that I was in Chandigarh or I was in Delhi before I was flown into Ladakh or Tawang or wherever you're posted. So you must immediately be able to confide. And that ये नहीं सोचना है कि वो क्या सोचेगा. What will he think? अरे ये youngster, ये तेरे को क्या हो गया? मैं देख कैसा हूं. Don't worry. सबका बॉडी अलग अलग होता है, सबका बॉडी का एडजस्टमेंट अलग अलग होता है, सबने धीरे धीरे करके एक्लिमेटाइज. सो डोंट फील बैड. सो एवरीबडी इज टॉक. सो इफ यू आर नॉट फीलिंग वेल, नॉट फीलिंग, यू आर नॉट एबल टू स्लीप, क्योंकि कम से कम 7 से 8 घंटा सोना बहुत जरूरी है. ओनली व्हेन यू स्लीप फॉर 7 to 8 hours that you will be active and alert the whole day. Otherwise, you'll perpetually be feeling uneasy. Then you'll be a little nasty behavior, not reacting well, and then all those activities start off, which is not good. So, and immediately your behavioral pattern में थोड़ा सा भी फर्क आ गया, your body should be able to convey and to be able to tell the doctor, yes sir, I think there's something amiss in it. Hallucination हो जाता है. Moment you go touch 14,000 feet and above, you'll start hallucinating. Hallucinating मतलब आप पता नहीं क्या बोल रहे हो, कैसे हो रहा है, कुछ पता नहीं लग रहा है. The best remedy for it तो आपको नीचे लाने के लिए. अगर आप 16,000 पर हो, you started hallucinating, आप नीचे हाइट पे ले आओ, same person within no time will start feeling better. That means you know that there is nothing wrong with you. This is a very common thing. एक दो बार करने के बाद अपने आप आदत हो जाएगी. नींद नहीं आना, खाना नहीं खा पाना, पानी नहीं पीना, और एक्सेस ज्यादा नींद आना, या जो सर दर्द, थोड़ा सा ब्रेथलेसनेस फील करना, what is it say generally, ये मेरा दिल नहीं लग रहा है, अच्छा नहीं लग रहा है, that kind of a thing. All these kind of attitudes, the behavioral changes that come in a normal body or in a this thing must be reported. कभी भी किसी को नहीं लगना चाहिए कि कोई मकरा है या ये यहाँ पे नौकरी नहीं करना चाहता है, वो नीचे जाना चाहता है, इसलिए वो इस तरह बोलता है. डोंट वरी, absolutely don't worry. The doctor and everybody know within no time ये भाई ये ठीक है या नहीं. So that is something which is very very important. ये सब अपना, that is now all that we have spoken about is self. Once you are feeling physically fit, you're feeling mentally robust, you're feeling healthy, then comes the training part. Automatically, you'll be involved in training. You'll step out, you'll go out, because then if you're wearing dark glasses, you have to wear dark glasses. Otherwise, आपको स्नो ब्लाइंडनेस हो जाएगा. अगर आप नहीं देखोगे, फट एकदम स्नो ब्लाइंडनेस, आपको पता भी नहीं चलेगा कि आपका आंख खराब हो गया. So it's very important to be wearing your dark glasses. हवा. Now, anything and everything in high altitude, because the weather conditions and the wind
Wind.
that blows, it will just take away. So even if your gloves are there, it should be sort of secured with your body. ऐसे नहीं होना चाहिए कि आपने gloves डाला और निकाला, वो wind has taken that glove away, and once you have lost that glove, and by the time you may get it or you may not get it, you can well imagine by the time probably you reach your room, it can be so severe sometimes that you may lose a limb or something like that. So you must secure your gloves to your body, and therefore even if by mistake they fall off, they will still be hanging with your body, and then you know that you have to wear them again. Similarly, a balaclava, जो सर पे डालना है, it should be secured. No question of it losing, because the wind can just take it away. Dark glasses, balaclava, your gloves, your socks, everything and anything. What happens is आपने मोजे डाले, आपने you worn 2 pairs of socks thinking कि मैं थोड़ा गर्म रहूंगा. Very good, you must. But because you walked some distance, you have started sweating, and you don't realize it. And when you come back to your tent or room or say kind of a hut or wherever that prefabricated hut, whatever, wherever you are living, once you come back to that, you don't realize it, or there's a bukhari there, or it is little centrally heated over there. You sweat a little more, and now in that, or it may turn cold, so that sweat turns into thin ice, and once that turns into thin ice, then you will get chilblain or you will get a frostbite. So you have to be very careful that immediately remove it, so that you dry your socks, then you wear them again. Anything and everything on the body should be dry, because the moment it is wet and you realize it, sometimes it so happens you might be looking very hale and hearty because the kind of clothing that you wear. The clothing makes you look very, very thick and fat and very this thing, whereas you're just a skinny skeleton inside, because the body is eating the body itself. So whatever is there, वही अंदर ही अंदर, the body has the ability to survive for whatever is there. And if you're not keeping up with your eating, reasonably well eating, then the energy, you find that you have expended more and not being able to generate more, resulting in you becoming a skeleton. We generally ensure that the men over there don't shave. Why they don't shave primarily is so that the sunburn that you had, that tanning ho jata hai, to prevent that tanning, shaving, clearing. So he tends to grow beard, and but that again has a little problem, because as soon as you step out and you're there, because of the breeze and because of the way you're breathing, all of it becomes icelets. So you find that entire face is all white with snow and ice, which has become, or even while you're breathing, that normal breath also, by the time it touches and comes out, it's become ice. And so it's all, face is full of ice, your mustache is full of ice, so hair, head, everything ice. So you have to be very, very careful that all these things count a lot, not for any other reason. You touch anything with loha, anything of iron, you touch, you find your skin is peeled off if you're not wearing gloves. So you have to wear gloves to ensure that you don't touch something which is, live open. Because after all, a weapon is there. अपने weapon से firing करना है. So you have to know, अगर weapon is, obviously it is metallic, bare hand, if you touch, you'll find that your skin is peeled off. The skin, the metal has taken your skin away. And then once you are hurt, injured, or these issues, you are evacuated. Evacuated, it'll take 15, 20, 21 days gone down. Moment you have gone out of the circuit for over 21 days to a month, you have to come back and re-acclimatize. That is another big problem. Though it may not be 6 days acclimatization, it may be 4 days of a little truncated acclimatization, but वो आपके 4 दिन का बर्बाद हो गया. There every man counts. Every man counts. You cannot afford to fall sick. You cannot afford to fall ill, or you can't afford not to feel good. So ये सब जो चीजें हैं बहुत बहुत जरूरी है. चाहे आंख है, you should be able to see well. Hearing, you should be able to hear well, because when you travel, sometimes in helicopters or you're traveling in aircrafts which are not pressurized, you suddenly find the ears have bloody blocked and chocked. मतलब ऐसे लगता है कि very difficult. Then they'll tell you, okay, blow your this thing, close your nose and blow it hard. Then suddenly, if I tuck, your ears will open up, and then you suddenly start hearing everything well. So, and these are all preparations. Not only this, it's surprisingly, it's young boys who are there on high altitude post, 20,000, 19,000 above. They'll come up to you, yes, sir, I'm feeling important. And what happened suddenly? Now you're a doctor also to that poor little boy, because he's just 19, he's only 20, poor thing. You tell him, don't worry, this has absolutely nothing to do with anything. No, sir, because he's now, watching on YouTube, he's seeing something, and he feels, my God, his life has ended, and something is gone. You tell him nothing, not to worry. Kuch nahi hua hai. You just go down, you'll be perfectly fine. But these are all fears which must be addressed, and they can only be addressed when he has confidence in you as a leader, that he can come and discuss his personal problems with you. This is my problem, or ye ho gaya, wo ho gaya, whatever little problem. What might sound little and silly for him, it may be very, very important for the other person. So it may be silly for you, it may not be silly for you. For it's a huge thing. If somebody comes and tells you, sir, main aise ho gaya, and the word that the boys use is something which even I didn't know. They say, sir, main khassi ho gaya. I used to say, what is all this nonsense he's talking about? Till you find out from the doctors and this and that. So it's very important, small things, very, very small things, but it counts a lot for that boy. And whether it is on eating, now for normal, when you're making rice, normal pressure cookers in plain areas, there are about 2, 3 whistles should be enough. There, even 23 whistles of the pressure cooker will be inadequate. And at the end of it, the rice will still not be properly boiled and cooked well. So you find that for him, it's a very big thing. So what would we be doing? There's the normal MMG ammunition boxes come, and each of these ammunition boxes have a gasket around it, and those gaskets is basically for hermetize, to seal it properly. So all that we would do is, once we have used up the ammunition, make a hole in the center and just put some little atta on top of it and put one matchstick on top and allow it to rice to be cooked in it. First class rice will be cooked in it. So you've got to keep telling chaps, don't worry, there are ways and means of cooking. Kaise pani banana. Keep telling them again and again. If the fire is on, the fire is on because the oxygen is there. Otherwise, if there is no oxygen, there won't be fire. So don't worry, you are breathing. It's not. Don't take it out of your mind कि सब सांस नहीं आ रहा है, सांस नहीं, सब सांस आ रहा है. आग क्यों लगा है? Because there is fire. Because your little bukhari or little that whatever your fire that there is to keep you warm is burning. It is because there is oxygen. If there was no oxygen, the fire won't be there. So there is enough. Don't worry. Why are you feeling this? So it's psychological, like what you rightly said, sir. Psychological. That psychological feeling. I've seen. You'll be surprised. Boys talking on the telephone and dying one after the other, as if it's a cricket match going on and wickets are falling. And you're surprised what's going on here. One man is talking to you. 5 minutes back, he spoke to you. No more. If the other chap picks up the phone, you ask him, hey, वो was talking क्या हुआ? साहब वो तो पता नहीं क्या हो गया, वो तो हरकत नहीं कर रहा है. Right? Like this, I've seen 3 consecutive, 1, 2, 3, like a cricket match going on. So that is something, because you find even in Siachen and all these places, if you have had about 1,000 odd deaths so far from the time of Meghdut started in 1984 till date, over 875 to 900 deaths are because of weather, not because of bullets, weather. And therefore, it's very, very important that we have to be able to understand everybody will be mentally tuned. Very important is how he gets mentally tuned, how he must know that, yes, what is a blizzard? It's very easy to describe as so, but when you experience and that blizzard, that wind hits you, and people light in weight can just be taken off their feet and thrown somewhere. That for which again each two to three men have to be roped up, have to ensure that they're tied up with each other and anchored. That is why that ice axe is there in your hand. Harkness Soti, that ice axe, you hold it firm, you will find that irrespective of the wind blowing at 100 kilometers an hour, at least you're holding on to that. within no time you can be covered with snow. Within no time. Entire thing you can be in snow. So that ponchos are worn to ensure that the snow is taken off, how to move about it. So all these things come slowly and steadily with be able to convey, share your experiences with your friends, share your experiences with your colleagues, tell them ऐसे होता है, ये होने से घबराना नहीं है, सर दर्द होगा, कोई चिंता करने का बात नहीं है, क्योंकि एक दो दिन होगा तो उसका अपने आप ठीक हो जाएगा. But until unless it tells you, otherwise you'll suddenly find, I remember a boy,
Yeah,
and
he'll just come.
suddenly
Yeah.
in the
So
morning,
he's yeah,
he'll
yeah,
tell you,
yeah. Go ahead,
yeah,
go ahead,
yeah.
go ahead. Yeah.
So suddenly in the morning, he'll tell you, somebody will come and report you, साहब, उसका मुंह से तो झाग आ गया. क्या हो गया? अरे साहब, वो तो झाग आ गया. That means he's gone. He's suffered with a high altitude pulmonary edema. He's no more. Poor thing. He's just perfectly fine sometime back because he refuses to tell the people around that he's not feeling well. He thinks, what will they think? This chap is supposed to be the finest of the mountaineers, working, were running here, rappelling here, slithering there, putting ropes here, the first one to go for avalanche rescues, ensuring things are there, feeding everybody, giving a cup of tea. How can he die? And he himself, he feels, so sometimes the bravadoness sets into individuals. That's also a dangerous thing. Bravadoness or getting into a shell. You have to be normal. And there have to be people who are monitoring all this, whether you're perfect. You're going for your normal call, nature's call. You find that there is nothing over there except for maybe a steep slope or something. You have to be tied up with the rope and you have to ensure that you don't fall down. Otherwise, you might get into a crevice. An avalanche might hit you. You may fall into a crevice. I've seen these poor porters over there losing everything. No limb, even one feet is also gone. That is the kind of situation that you can get into if you're not careful. If you're careful, cautious. I've seen an entire helicopter, an ALH, entire such big helicopter go into a crevice. Can you imagine an entire helicopter going to a crevice because of whiteout conditions that occur over there? So these are things which happen, but then we have to be, as long as people are aware of it, as long as people understand that these are difficulties which you have to face, there is nothing happens. But if you
Everything can be
don't,
done. Yeah.
then yeah, everything,
There's a problem.
everything, sir. You're absolutely right. There are remedies for everything, provided you share. You should lose your limb because whether you have to wear gloves, not that कुछ नहीं होता है. During day, the temperatures can go as high as even 20 degrees. At night, within no time, the temperature can fall to minus 20 degrees. So you just see the body has to take a variation of plus 20 to minus 20 in a short span of 3 to 4 hours. So that's a huge variation that the body has to adjust to. So therefore, you have to go and ensure that these things are done properly. And that is where training is very important. During training, to tell
Yeah.
them what it is.
So
You can't write. Yeah.
yeah. So what you explained very nicely. What is the acclimatization? How you adjust to the area? How you behave in that area? How you live in that area? All that. एंड वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट आपने जो बताया है वो है कि हाई एल्टीट्यूड में ज्यादा लोग वहाँ एक एनवायरनमेंट की वजह से मरते हैं ना कि एनिमी एक्शन की वजह से राइट so your casualties with enemy is less more with the environment so that part we have dealt with how do you fight what are the special things when you want to fight in high altitude what are the special attributes you develop in soldiers for fighting Yes, we need to understand
See,
how we do it, and we can put it out, and then of course we'll see what the PLA is doing.
See,
Yeah,
what happens is even I'll tell you what a little of the PLA, whatever I've seen of them interacting with them.
we'll
But
take it
we'll
later.
discuss. But we'll first talk about ourselves. First and
Mm.
foremost, very important is there are all kinds of oils available. Normal oil in a weapon also. I'll take about personal weapon also, or even vehicles, or for that matter. You'll find certain lubrication. They call it the low cold test oil. That means if you're using that particular oil, it won't freeze. Now, diesel will freeze. Petrol doesn't freeze. So if you have vehicles which are operating on diesel, just virtually off. It will not, the vehicle will not only ply over there. Petrol, well, it does not freeze, so it's okay, perfectly fine. You're able to. Kerosene oil is the best thing. So you have certain generators which work on kerosene oil, or they call that aviation turbine or fuel, ATF.
Well,
That also excellent for your generators are concerned, or for that matter, your no, normal this thing are concerned. Because kerosene again doesn't freeze. So, but you have to be careful that for the kerosene, because the jerrycans all look alike and all of them. Though, of course, the fuel jerrycans have a particular mark over there, written fuel over there, or if you have water, then it is W engraved on it. It says it has water, and you have to make sure that under no circumstances, under this thing, you put kerosene oil into a generator, into a jerrycan, which is meant for water. By mistake, because at night you don't know anything. You just felt it. You felt W, and you thought it was water, and you put it in your glass, and you thought, firstly, if it is water, it will freeze. And the very fact that it has not frozen, that means it is kerosene. But by mistake, because you're half asleep or something, if you drank a bit of kerosene only, there's another problem. For every one person who becomes a casualty, you require not less than 8 men to carry him. So a certain post may have just few limited people, and here you have 8 to 12 men just to carry one boy, bringing him from one place to the other place at night. Where will the helicopter come? How will you take him away? So all these things are where the boys have to be told that to remain fighting fit. Now, even if he's doing his normal at night, he will make sure that he does not generally stay as a sentry for longer than 40 minutes, 45 minutes, maximum an hour, and nothing else. So he'll be changed. There'll be a buddy system. There'll be yet another patrol leader in charge of that particular district. So there are 3 men. So one is doing duty for an hour, he goes back, he's turned over, yet another person. So at no point of time is a thing left vacant. Not for any reason, because you're constantly alert, firstly. Then there are 2, 3 of them are there. You're alert, you're aware, you haven't gone off to sleep, you're observing, watching, whatever it is.
so
Because half the
yeah,
time the weather is a very, very difficult thing, because
very,
sometimes you may not
very,
be able
yeah.
to see even up to 5 meters. 5 meters. Visibility may be 5 meters, sometimes 2 meters, sometimes even kilometers, and sometimes not even 1 meter. So you don't know, and it may be within about an hour. You sometimes maybe the previous sentry saw it up to 4 to 5 kilometers, and to the next sentry who came, we can't even see. So to ensure that he goes to the right sentry pole, there are cables laid so that he holds the cable and he reaches over there. Otherwise, navigation may, oh, poor thing is lost, and he'll be in circles, not knowing where is he going, and then panic sets in. Panic must not set in. Any soldier, panic must not set in. We probably have some posts are very close to the enemy post, so you have to be careful that the panic doesn't set in, and that he has not inadvertently walked onto the other side. So you have to be careful of it. So weapons are very important. Grenades are very important. Your ammunition is very important. All of it, because all of it has got metal, and that metal at that point, at that height, if it touches your hand, bare hand, it'll stick. And if it
God,
sticks, it will not come out. It'll peel off your skin. And so it's very important that you have to wear your gloves. And you have to wear your gloves, and the index finger must be kept open. And you have to see. So either you, for the trigger guard, you have to remove it. Otherwise, you'll find that you'll not be able to fire. So all these small, small things that individual is trained at, is told what is to be done. And then sometimes, hallucinations, I won't call it hallucinations, I'll say at great heights, even especially when you're at 18,000 and plus, you find these meteoroids fall, and they give a feeling as something like a very light pistol has fallen on you. It'll come at a great speed, and at the end of it, you will not really see anything. Or crevices sometimes open up with what noise, unbelievable noise. Sometimes it will scare the hell out of the finest of the best soldier, because of the crevice opening, and it just might open where your own tent is. So you have to be careful that this is a crevice sound. It is nothing to do with the enemy shelling. It is something to do with this is a meteoroid. It is not a very light pistol being fired from the enemy side, but a thing which is a nature thing which has come from top of the skies, and this is where it. Each man, and generally, you don't have a person over there for longer than 90 days. That means if he's fit enough, he would have survived 90 days and gone back. Most of them maybe 20 days, 25 days. So someone has to be there who has to the energy every day to be able to conveying to the other person and keeping him fit, because most important is the man must feel good. He must feel energetic. If he's feeling energetic, only then will he be fit to fight. Whether to make trenches, because the trenches will get covered with snow, ice. They're very difficult to dig. And if it is to be dug, how it is to be done, you cannot afford to get injured. That is the most important thing. Nothing, no injury is acceptable, for which you have to do it slowly. You have to do it ensuring
Yeah,
that, yes, within a specified time, but don't get injured. Because, as I said, one man goes off, you can imagine how much more difficult, yet till the relief
eight guys.
comes, very difficult. Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What आपने जो बताया है कि वहाँ फाइटिंग के लिए you have to be organized for fighting. You have to have
Absolutely.
discipline in fighting, right? आपका ऑर्गेनाइजेशन सही होना चाहिए, आपका लॉजिस्टिक्स सही होना चाहिए, आपका आइडिया सही होना चाहिए, तरतीब सही होना चाहिए, ताकि वो हाई एल्टीट्यूड में आप हर वक्त जो है एक तरतीब से काम करोगे तो आप हासिल कर सकते हो आपका मुद्दा। अगर नहीं कर सकते हो तो जैसे मैंने बताया, अगर एक आदमी डाउन हो जाता है तो 8 आदमी उसके साथ पीछे ले जाना पड़ता है। Then you're not bothered about fighting, you're about bothered about saving him. So
Absolutely.
the second thing
Absolutely.
is इकट्ठा होके एक दूसरे को सहानुभूति देना चाहिए और एक दूसरे को मोरल अप करना चाहिए, ताकि मेंटली ऑल ऑफ अस आर फिट आउट देयर। क्योंकि इट्स आल्सो माय एक्सपीरियंस, लाइक आप जैसे बता रहे हो कि जब तक आदमी मेंटली फिट होता है बाकी सब कुछ हो जाता है। वो 80% ऑफ बीइंग इन हाई एल्टीट्यूड इज मेंटल फिटनेस, कि भाई मेरे मैं
True.
जो करूंगा मैं फिट हूं, मैं बाकी सब कुछ हो जाएगा, ठीक है।
Yes.
और राइट आउट ऑफ द फिटनेस, एंड देन ऑफ कोर्स वो अगर मेंटल फिटनेस हो गया तो तरतीब भी अपने आप आएगा। आप थोड़े दिन कुछ वहां रहोगे तो आपको पता चल जाएगा कि यहाँ क्या करना है नहीं करना है, ऑल दैट, एंड यू आर रेडी टू फाइट। ओके, सो वी आर, यू हैव आउटलाइंड कि how we going to fight, how we going to be ready to fight, and how we fight, and keeping your ammunition ready, keeping your weapons clean. Two most important things: ammunition and weapons have to be not only clean, they have to be well maintained with correct grades of oils which don't freeze out there, right? All the special grades and all that, which is very important. Okay, now I'll go back to that first one which the Nepali chap said about the PLA, and I'll ask you the question. उसने तो बोला कि भाई PLA will come with rockets and artillery and all that, because their people can't fight. I mean, that's what he virtually said. They can't fight over 10,000 because they have to have oxygen, yeah, all that. So, and you have seen the PLA boys, not only in Eastern Ladakh, you've seen them in Arunachal also. सब आपने देख लिया। तो अभी जो रिपोर्ट्स आ रहे हैं और आपने जो महसूस किया है, इससे क्या आपको योर असेसमेंट ऑफ द पीएलए बॉयज एंड आवर बॉयज, हाउ डू यू मैच देम अप?
So before I come to that, just to remind people, जो SOPs लिखते हैं, we must follow the SOPs.
या
SOPs must be followed in letter and spirit. That is very, very important. For anybody and everything जो SOPs लिखते हैं, पुराने आपको बताते हैं, उसको हल्का नहीं लेना है, उसको सीरियसली लेना है, चाहे हो या ना हो, वैसे काम करना है। अगर गर्म पानी पीना है, हर एक घंटे के बाद आधा ग्लास, तो आधे घंटे के बाद आधा ग्लास गर्म पानी पीना है, अदरवाइज गेट कॉन्स्टिपेटेड, नहीं तो आपको बाद में दिक्कत हो जाएगी। Now coming to the PLA part. Now it's very important. The PLA also, अगर देखें, जो हान पॉपुलेशन है, वो रहती है बीजिंग के आसपास। और ये जो सिंकियांग है, तिब्बत है, मंगोलिया है, दिस इज कंप्राइजिंग 40% ऑफ द चाइनीज लैंड, which has
या
only 3% of that population. So ये जो इर्द गिर्द है, that means this is like a buffer to the mainland Hans, who are billion in population, who are staying in the center, और ये सब बाहर। That means जो चाइनीज है, जो हान चाइनीज है, जो भाषा जो जिसको हम चाइनीज बोलते हैं, वो उसको आदत नहीं है इस ऑल्टीट्यूड में रहने की। तिब्बत में कौन रहता है? तिब्बतन रहता है। सिंकियांग में कौन रहता है? यूगर रहता है। मंगोलिया में कौन रहता है? मंगोलियन रहता है। तो चाइनीज जो हान है वो वहां रहता है। अब जो माओ से तुंग के आने के बाद जब इन्होंने सबका कब्जा कर लिया, इन्होंने मंगोलिया ले लिया, यूनान ले लिया, सिंकियांग ले लिया, तिब्बत ले लिया, अपने चाइना में जोड़ लिया, और अपने अब ये जो हान पॉपुलेशन है उनके प्रोटेक्शन के लिए ये सब है। उन्होंने अब धीरे धीरे करके अपने लोग उधर भेजते हैं, यहाँ पे रहने के लिए, कहीं पर ज्यादा रहने। तो जैसे ये बताया है इस कॉरेस्पॉन्डेंट ने, इस पे कोई शक नहीं है कि वहां पे जो लिविंग अकोमोडेशन है, वहां पे सेंट्रली हीटेड, आपका कम्युनिकेशन के साधन, आपका ऑक्सीजन की बंदोबस्त, अच्छी सड़कें बनी हुई, वो सब बंदोबस्त इन्होंने कर रखा है। और वो इसलिए किया हुआ है क्योंकि इट्स वेरी डिफिकल्ट। अनलाइक हमारे जो सोल्जर्स हैं, जिनको आदत है हार्डी लिविंग की, और हार्डी लिविंग बिकॉज ऑफ ग्रेट हाइट्स, हम लोग लद्दाख में हैं तो भी ग्रेट हाइट्स पे हैं, सियाचिन में है तो सुपर हाई ऑल्टीट्यूड में है, तवा अपने अरुणाचल में है, सिक्किम में तो भी हम हाई ऑल्टीट्यूड में है, इधर हम लोग उत्तराखंड में है तो भी हम हाई ऑल्टीट्यूड। तो हम लोग हाई ऑल्टीट्यूड में रहने के आदी होने के कारण, और सारे के सारे ट्रुप्स जो है टर्न ओवर होता रहता है, तो इन सबको मालूम है कि 14,000, 16,000, 18,000, 20,000 तक फाइट करना है या रहना है, जीना है, जिंदा रहना है और तगड़ा रहना है, तो हम लोगों ने क्या करना है। इन लोगों को थोड़ी आदत नहीं होती है, इसलिए नॉर्मली ये जो गाड़ियों में भी मेरे को मिलने के लिए आते थे, इनकी गाड़ियां भी सेंट्रली हीटेड होती थी। और वो जो आदमी सेंट्रली हीटेड गाड़ियों में हरकत करेगा, उस वक्त तो सब अच्छा लगता है। जब जैसे ही गाड़ी से बाहर आता है, तकरीबन 15-20 मिनट तक ठीक रहता है। उसके बाद जब आप मौसम जो है, जब आपको लगता है ठंडा या फिर बहुत ज्यादा गर्म, आपने बहुत ज्यादा कपड़े डाले तो भी मुश्किल, आपने कम डाले तो भी मुश्किल। सो यू हैव टू रियली वेयर जस्ट एडिक्वेट गुड क्लोथ्स सो दैट इट कीप्स यू अलर्ट, alive, and at the same time it does not harm you. So ये centrally heated environment में, जैसे वो रिपोर्टर कहता है कि साहब इनको ऑक्सीजन सिलेंडर्स की जरूरत पड़ती है, डेफिनेटली अगर आप लोग को आदत नहीं है, किसी को भी आदत नहीं है, तो ऑक्सीजन सिलेंडर्स की जरूरत पड़े। पायलट्स हैं, पायलट जब भी फ्लाई करते हैं, दे आर टेकिंग इन ऑक्सीजन एवरी नाउ एंड देन। क्यों? क्योंकि वो थोड़ी सा इज फ्लाइंग ओनली एट 16,000 प्लस, he's flying at 18,000 plus sometimes, though the helicopters don't go beyond that sometimes. Most of the time they're between say, 16, 18 and 20 maximum. But they are not flying at all times. So when you fly at that high, obviously the pilot has to feel good. He might feel looking good, but he is not, उसके अगर reflexes
fully fit.
slow हो जाए, not worth it. So he has to keep taking oxygen. So therefore the Chinese are also now getting into that, you must keep yourself alert, and छोटे छोटे ऑक्सीजन सिलेंडर्स मिलते हैं, half a kg kind of a thing, which can see you for that little time, for about say 3-4 hours, or take a few puffs so to feel a little more this thing and start work. Because until and unless you feel energetic, until and unless, so but our soldiers, Indian soldiers, I'll say, we never don't need it. Yes, if you go to an MH, there'll be a completely pressurized chamber. If you are feeling breathless, they'll put you into that chamber. They'll put you into that. That's okay because you're unwell, and therefore the treatment is. But not normal. इसमें nothing like that is ever done. So we have to be careful कि कैसे चलना है, कैसे रहना है, कैसे खाना है. The Chinese, the PLA soldiers, as I said, they are Han, जिसमें वो टिबेटन्स हैं, वो दे आर क्वाइट वेल एडजस्टेड। आई हैव सीन दोस टिबेटन्स generally come enrolled into PLA. They are well, you can make out from the way they walk, the way they talk. They are sometimes when they're talking to you, वो जान करके आपको किसी पहाड़ी के ऊपर ले जाने की कोशिश करेंगे कि देखते हैं कि ये आदमी हिंदुस्तानी है, चल सकता है नहीं, या इसकी सांस फूल जाती है 2 कदम रखने के बाद। बट इफ यू आर कीपिंग अप एंड गोइंग द वे दे आर, देन दे आर टायर्ड, दे ऑलरेडी लिफ्ट आपका। कभी कभी मेरे को याद है, अभी भी मैं चल रहा था, मेरा वो उसने शर्ट उठा दिया ऊपर। मैंने उसको कहा ये क्या हो गया, व्हाई डिड यू लिफ्ट माय शर्ट? ही सेड नो, आई वांटेड टू सी कि आई एम फीलिंग सो कोल्ड, व्हाई आर यू नॉट फीलिंग कोल्ड? Look at that. Now he's trying to lift my shirt because neither can he speak English, neither does he know Hindi. So he wanted to see कि मैंने क्या पहना है. So he just felt a little uneasy. उसने मेरा shirt ऐसे निकाला और देखने के लिए कि मैंने नीचे क्या डाला है. And he saw that I was normal. This thing. अरे he says, no, these are all psychological warfare जैसे आप बोलते हो sir. It's all psychological. And if you are able to win that this thing, it doesn't matter to me. You are able to convey, talk properly, because even talking is very difficult. बात करना, सोचना, उसके बाद खाना खाना या हंसी मजाक करना, to be able to walk a few steps faster than the other. It is all psychological. It's all psychological, and that only comes with a passenger training. And sometimes I've seen some of these Tibetan girls who are there who put up sometimes a dance and drama show at this great altitude. They do bring their dance and drama. They're quite good and quite adapted and quite. She's from the plane or something like that, विद इन नो टाइम फर्स्ट डांस स्टेप में वो गिर जाएगी नीचे, उधर ही गिर जाएगी. So you know that this girl is not probably not well or whatever the reason it may be. So these are things which we have to be very very careful of, and breathing. All this has to be form a habit. Like they say, if you remove H, a bit still remains. If you remove A, bit still remains. If you remove B, it still remains. So it should form a habit. कितने सवेरे उठना, कैसे करना, क्या चलना, तेज चलना, धीरे चलना, अपने आप को कंपोज करना. एंड इफ यूर अ लीडर, then you are bound to talk a little more than the others to ensure that everything is all okay. सबको चेक
Yeah,
करना, सबसे बातचीत करना, ये करना. So you have to be up and about, and
up,
they
up.
say
Yeah,
generally 90 days is what they give. After 90 days they pull you down, and
you turn
then
over.
your replace. Yeah, your
You do a
turnover takes
turnover.
place.
Yeah. Now, the point which I want you to highlight to everyone is, look, in a combat situation, right? Like that fellow says, we are now know, I mean, our boys can maneuver in mountains like they did in Kailash ranges. They can, even in Pangong, so North Pangong, so we occupied later higher heights and dominated them. So movement is important. And all that comes from an ability to adapt to the ground and be able to fight in those areas. Right. In terms of the men who are going to fight, we have an edge. There's no doubt about it.
100%, 100%. That is the
100%. Yeah.
real plus point. What you're
Real,
talking about.
yeah,
That's the plus
yeah.
point we have.
Plus point which we have. In terms of the facilities and all, yeah, they have been constructing from long. They have the facilities. And they have a lot of rockets, AO and all, which they can fire and all. Uh, like that Nepali correspondent said, if PLA attacks us with rockets, and all, is it the end of the show there, or is it only the beginning of the show for us?
So what happens
Because
is,
ultimately,
which they would.
you need to fight.
That's where what you just said. At the end of it, the what matters is the infantry finally, depending upon who is still occupying the ground. And that is the time when your hand-to-hand combat starts, or you're just about 300 meters away or 400 meters away, and you're all alert. That is where I remember the Pakistanis attacking me at Belafondla. It was just 300 meters slope up, and 300 meters. I was perfectly just standing on top and watching him to come, and one shot, finish. That's all. Everybody would freeze there only. It might look in a plane, 300 meters is nothing. You just run through
Okay.
within no time. Even if there were 15 of them, they'll run through. Here, 15, there were 50, they couldn't. Impossible. It's impossible, because every step is very difficult to take. Number one. Number two, you're under fear. You're under fire. Fire, fear, impossible to move. And then they're hitting you on the head. And moment you're in snow conditions, you can imagine, I've seen, it is like, you have that ice on which they put that red, this thing, and give you to eat as little children. Na? They make you that little gola, baraf ka gola, and
Ice candy.
like that. Yeah, candy thing. Like that, you see the blood on all school all over. Moment the bullet hits you, and the blood oozes out, it's impossible to move. And once you see all that, it's demoralizing. It's very difficult. But if you are shaken up psychologically over there, then you're shaken up, and it wouldn't take any long. And therefore, all these heights matter. If you're occupying heights and you're holding yourself well, and you're breathing well, you're eating well, seeing well, the other man who's walking up is at tremendous disadvantage. You require as much as 9 to 1. That means you require at least 9 odd soldiers to knock off one, which is not easy. It's sometimes maybe more, but not if you're occupying a height.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to dislodge a person from a height. Very difficult. Very difficult.
I agree with you completely. This is what I want to tell everyone. When you fight in high altitude, it is not one chap has rockets more and one chap has manpower more, he'll win and all that. You have to have a balance. Santulan chahiye. You need the right amount of firepower, you need the right amount of manpower, and both of them have to train together and form an effective firing, a fighting unit. What I see in the PLA so far, is that this balance they don't have, because they are not very confident of their manpower. खास करके अगर ना, if this is the way they have to, I'll show you this, and this is a very revealing picture. If this is the way they have to train, and this is
Yeah.
the way they have to keep using oxygen and all that, okay, like if this is the way they have to train, that means that chap, without oxygen, he's mentally not there. Like we play kabaddi also out there, our boys.
Hmm.
Okay, when you play kabaddi also, you're wearing gloves and playing kabaddi. Okay, so when that is not there, their capability to fight reduces. Their capability to attack also reduces. And one more thing I would like to tell everyone: he can have missiles, he can have rockets, he can have guns, much more than us. It doesn't matter. Firstly, he doesn't have that money. Even if he has, there are issues there. I must tell you, all of you, because in these high altitudes and in valleys and hills and all, many of these don't fall in the place where you want them to fall. They'll fall all over.
Wait.
So the effect of all this is reduced. Okay, in high altitudes and in those places, it's not the long range and all which matters. You have to be accurate from short distances. You have to fight close. नजदीक आके लड़ना पड़ता है एक दूसरे, कभी कभी हाथापाई भी हो जाता है, जैसे गलवान में हुआ या नॉर्थ पेंगोंगसो में होता है. एंड जब अगर फायर फोर खुल जाता है तो नजदीक होना चाहिए. Those big guns with firing from 50-60 kilometers away won't work. They didn't work in Kargil, they didn't work anywhere. Even in Kargil, you are firing at about 8-9 kilometers direct. अब दिख रहा है टारगेट, उसके ऊपर मार रहे हो.
Hmm.
So this whole thing one has to understand that it is living is difficult in altitude. We have the experience of living in altitude for a long time. Okay, all our units go through altitude tenures. At any given point of time in our altitude, in our units, we have 30 to 40% when a unit goes into altitude who have already been in altitude. So the psychological conditioning of people who go into altitude in India is very high. Okay, and plus you are defending your motherland, whether it is Sikkim or Arunachal or Ladakh. It's your motherland. A lot of our own people are there. Okay, you identify with them. Whereas you look at it from the Chinese fellow, Han, he's come from 5,000 kilometers away. He has got no affinity with that area. He's young. He cannot live without oxygen. अगर उसको थोड़ा ज्यादा एक्सपोज कर दो तो ट्रेंच में शायद वो सुकड़ भी जाएगा वो, right? And as a result, if you've seen the pictures they give out of their firing, even that I'm very doubtful whether their coordination between where they fire and how these people is there or not. That's my view, right? So if
So
that
what you are
coordination
saying
is
now,
not there,
very
yeah,
true,
bolo bolo.
very true. The two things over here. Firstly, just having a few gladiators don't help. Everybody has
Help
to be the same. Everybody.
same
Just having
level. Yeah,
few karate, kung fu karne wala, just about 10 people put there for showcase ki this is what we do. That doesn't work. Gladiators, 10, 15, 20 make no difference. It's everybody has to gel like what you said. It's a team. Together, everybody achieves more. So that this
yeah,
teamwork which work, no individual can say I can do it. It's the team which can do wonders. Unbelievable
yeah.
wonders the team will do. Even if it's average, average team will output these few gladiators.
Okay. Right. So we've covered the whole thing. We've explained to everyone what's high altitude, how to live there, how to organize yourself for fighting, how you fight, and we also compared it with what the PLA is and all that, just to put it in picture. See, why I chose this topic. It is a normal topic. It's a simple topic. Every day we keep talking of Iran, Israel. ये वो सब छोड़ो. Let us see what we can do for ourselves. ठीक है, इसीलिए. Okay, I'll take a few questions now, Sanjay, if you don't mind. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And then
First,
I'll tell
yeah,
you
Jai
about
Kiran,
drinking. Sir, the last bit
yeah,
we'll conclude is whether drinking is allowed or not allowed.
allowed. Yeah, we'll do that. Okay, that's Jai Kiran. Welcome as a member. Arun Kumar also welcome as a member, and Fani Raj also welcome as a member. Grateful that
So
all of you
sweet.
come. I'd request more of you to join in and become members because it's for a good cause. And I would like more to subscribe because in Ghana Short, you're going to get something unique always. It's not the same
Yeah.
old Rataua stuff. You're going to get the experience of all such people who come who have lived that thing, who have fought. ये नहीं कि हवा में बात करो हम जो भी बात करते हैं हम जमीन के ऊपर बात करते हैं okay let me take some questions now which yeah he says we've been able to adapt because we've been there for donkey's years and because we are hardier assuming he continues this 4 year plus deployment indefinitely can we assume he'll be able to match us.
See, nobody can live there indefinitely. The turnover is a must because, after all, every
Mhm.
body has a limit to which it can. If when you know you'll be there for say 90 days at super high altitude, or you're in a high altitude for say 2 years or something, then you're mentally tuned. Ki, yes, I have to stay for 2 years, and that I must stay physically fit. I must stay mentally robust. I must not fall ill, and I must stay good, eat well, and be able to sleep well, work hard, and they're able to deliver and be a part of a team and be constructive, productive, and be able to work with everybody and be seen as someone, a useful member of a team. If that is there, because if you say no, 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 let that chap who's there be there only, then probably within no time he'll either, because ultimately if a Ladakhi is there, he wouldn't mind because he's staying there only. But if someone who say from plains, he's been put there, he will definitely be at a little disadvantage. For some time it's okay, a year, 2 years, no problem at all. But then longer than that, I wouldn't advise. I think this turnover is a good thing because more number of people get exposed to it, more number get realize and understand the importance of the SOPs, understand what it means to be not to be a Gama in the land of Lama, what it means to be pet mein roti, haath mein soti, chal choti, what it means to to remain healthy physically and mentally, and to be able to take the team along by sure not only being energetic but also feeling energetic. So all this is very, very important. So I think it's this, whatever SOPs have laid down, how many days, how many years everybody should be there, how many breaks an individual should get. I think you must firmly stick to
Yeah,
that.
okay.
Yeah.
We'll take a lot of questions. So if you could, be clear, short, and we'll to the point. Then we can take more questions. That's about all. Otherwise, we can. What are the lesser known difficulties we face while deployed in high altitude? Since you both have been there many times, maybe you can shed some light on lesser known aspects. We said that yes, whatever we have said is all lesser known aspects only.
Mm.
Okay, mental fortitude is the least known
Most
aspect, which is
important.
the most important. Okay. Okay. Uh, okay. Right. How difficult are mundane tasks like showering, going to toilet, etc. in altitude, especially during winters? Surely we can't shower in the cold weather, so how does one stay fresh?
See, there's nothing, everything is important. You will be surprised while I was Siachen, I did not take a bath for 90 days. No question of taking a bath for 90 days. Not that, but you, inner garments to be changed, a little, keeping yourself dry and ensuring everything. Obviously, it's very difficult. Depends upon how you're deployed, where you're deployed.
Yeah.
So it is very important whether it is going to the washroom, whether it is eating, whether it is sleeping, whether it is walking, whether it is doing sentry duty, whether it is interacting, whether it is
Yeah.
writing or it is reading. Everything is important
Everything
and
is
would
important.
require it. Yeah, everything is important.
See, there's a life different which is in a place like Siachen and those altitudes, right? And there's something else in little lesser altitudes where people normally live in barracks and all that. There also you have to have different methods. There you provide water, hot water for a bath and all that. If he can't have a bath daily, at least once in 4 5 days he has a bath. If nothing, he'll have a
Absolutely,
wash down.
absolutely,
He'll have a
absolutely.
wash down, right? Actually, you'll be surprised. You know what is the most difficult thing to cater for troops? It is a toilet. You know
Hmm.
why? Because it freezes and he can't go anywhere outside. So to keep a toilet going and flushing is one of the biggest jobs in high altitude. It's not food, it is not health, it is not anything. And if a chap doesn't go to the toilet, you can imagine what it is, right? In fact, that if he goes to the toilet and doesn't flush, it becomes rock hard. And then once it becomes rock hard, nothing happens. Then you have to find another place, and you can't keep going, crapping all over the countryside. So there are very, very, very. It's a fact. I mean, you'll agree with me,
Very true.
especially in
Very
places
true.
like a base
Sometimes
camp and all that.
what you're saying, people insist on having a washroom attached to his room. And sometimes that, because
Room.
what you said, high altitude, and it becomes hard. It can stink and smell so badly that you may not be able
And
to
it
live
is,
in that room, that joining.
and then not only that, it then becomes you get diseases. So there are a lot of other things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Now, Akash says fully agree with the acclimatization and induction sequence into high altitude areas. The present facilities and infrastructure for ascendants are far better when compared with exteriors. Your views completely. There's a sea change in what's happened. Okay.
100%.
Right. Yeah. 100%. Okay. This is another thing. Yeah, you can just dispel this. Uh, is it true that global warming has also made cold colder compared to 1962? Is the cold weather today more challenging than equipment armament that we are short on then?
Both ways. Some places you might
Both.
find that it's got a little warmer. Some places definitely it has become a little more colder. And some places you
Mhm.
find glaciers have receded. Some places you find snowfall, which used to be say 2 inches, has suddenly gone up to 6 inches. Some places where you had adequate snowfall, you suddenly find 2 seasons without a snowfall, and then third season is such a heavy snowfall that the roofs will, they'll pierce through the roof and everything will start collapsing everywhere. So all kinds. Yes, definitely the climate change is affecting and is badly affecting everywhere. So you cannot predict when. Invariably, would say by Christmas time it will snow. It may not just snow. It might just snow around the Republic Day. So you find 1 month late it is occurring, or even snowing till the month of July. June is just heavy snowfall continuing. It starts off in April. So there is a change, and we have to adapt to that change and see to it that we don't
Yeah.
muck up that area and keep the area neat and clean.
Yeah. Okay. He says, General Kulkarni, sir, normally before 2020, Galwan and now post Galwan, how many troops at a time face these Ladakh conditions and for how long at a stretch per soldier in months, etc.? Yeah, he's told you normally up
Yeah,
to 2 years people are there. And in very super high altitude pickets, they're not there for more than 90 days. That's the
very
thing,
true.
right? Yeah, that's what he said. Mm, okay, interesting. Majority of our borders at high altitude are protected by Tibetan SFF. If Tibet gets independence, will they return back to Tibet or Tibetan SFF still remain in India? Yeah, yours, Sanjay.
Much that the Tibetans, there is a lot of undercurrent, this thing. But then, since the Chinese are going out of their way to having a large number of the Han population having, shifted and relocated either in the Xinjiang province or in the Tibetan provinces, so you find that the Hans are almost 50% of the population, both at the Xinjiang and also in the Tibetan autonomous. They call it the Tibetan autonomous region, but it is not autonomous. It is almost in the complete hand of
Yeah, yeah.
the PLA and the Chinese. But notwithstanding all that, yes, if the Tibetans are more hardy, more easily this thing, but most of them are a mix now, and they trust Hans more than they would either trust the Uyghurs or they might trust the Tibetans.
Okay. Uh, they are indirectly PLA boys, but China have massively recruited Tibetans in Tibet to guard borders along Tibet, and Tibetans generally, yeah, that's what he said.
True, true,
Okay.
true.
Yeah. Yeah, you are giving away too much information to the PLA. No, don't worry. We are not giving information. We are telling them how tough we are and what will they get when they come this side. So don't worry about it. Um, okay, right. So yeah,
And both
okay.
sides face same challenges.
Uh,
Huh? They're no
Yeah,
different because we are
they're
just
not
so
different.
close to each other. We're all
Yeah,
facing the same challenges. They have no
Yeah.
difference.
Yes, General Shokin said on Gunner Shot that our troop deployment along LAC is reaching a very high level and stretched and will affect availability of strike forces for Pakistan. Your view? I'll not take this question here because we are talking of living and fighting in altitude. So this is
Yeah.
not a question which we will take, right? Um, okay, right, right. There's really no question. Okay, this is an interesting question. So, can you throw some light on Kashgar region of China? Why is it important to them, and how is it their weak point?
See, from Kashgar, the entire region, you have this Kunjara Pass which comes. And from the Kunjara Pass, you have this Karakoram Highway, now which is form part of the CPEC, the China-Pakistan
CPEC.
Economic Corridor, running right going up to Gwada. So Kashgar was an old trading point, even when you were to go to Central Asia from China, and still continues to remain a trading point, an important, you can say, a hub, a crossroad whether you're going into China or you're going to Central Asia or you're coming into Pakistan, to the Gilgit Baltistan, and then going along like that. So you find that it is an important hub, and that's where they intend building a lot of these pipelines for gas,
Mm.
also pipelines for the energy. This thing also, it's a huge area where lots of cotton is grown, lots of the other raw materials that are taken out in the Kashgar and the complete Xinjiang corner. So it's a very, very old
Important, very
trade route.
important route
Yeah,
for them.
very important trade route. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Then the next question is: do guns jam in high altitude? Of course, they jam.
they do. They do.
They- yeah. Okay. And then, can you explain how hard are logistics in high altitude?
See,
Logistics are the
this
lifeline in high
logistics
altitude.
is very important. The most important thing is logistics. If logistics are there, and that involves a lot of hard work, and the chain has to be continuously functioning. Whether and the
Mm.
logistics are provided all sorts of means by air, by road, by vehicles, by animals, by men, by porters. Everything and anything is used to ensure that the man on the front is being supplied well, and that he doesn't have to look back. He gets everything wherever he is. So logistics is
See,
the most
where,
important thing.
see, just for understanding, kerosene oil comes in bulk carriers to a point.
Yeah.
From the bulk carriers, it is shifted into barrels.
Mm.
Okay, and it is taken up. And from barrels, it is shifted into jerry cans. And from jerry cans, it is taken up to the post. And when it is taken up in by jerry cans to post, it could be taken up by air, it could be taken by animal, it could be put on the back of a man and taken.
Yeah.
Okay, and or it could be put on a snowmobile and taken,
Yeah.
and it could be put in a vehicle also in certain posts, with, not in Siachen, but in other places you might like to, you could take it to the vehicle. So you need to have a multiplicity of everything. Then in high altitude, you must understand normal vegetables. You should understand. You know, I remember when I was in altitude in same this Ladakh area, I used to count the number of onions in each post, because if you don't know how many onions, how many potatoes, how many things are at each post, how will you ensure it goes up? And there's so many posts out there, and things come in a plane load or a truckload or whatever in this thing. How do you know that those 10 chaps need 3 kgs of onions or 2 kgs of potatoes? That's the level of detail which is there in the supply chain. आजकल ये जो लॉजिस्टिक सप्लाई चेन बात करते हैं, हम अभी पिछले 50 साल से कर रहे हैं अभी. अंडरस्टैंड दिस. Okay. Yeah. Uh, what else? Yeah, last question. Do bullets work with same efficiency in high altitudes?
Yeah. Yeah. No problem regarding the efficiency is concerned. As long as it hits the target, it does the same work.
Same work. Yeah.
It does the same work.
And you must understand that bullets and anything which you fire out there, because the air is not dense, it's
Mm.
rare, rarefied air. As a result, you get more range. Artillery, a Bofors gun, which otherwise gets a range of 30 kilometers in planes, goes to 40 to 45 kilometers there.
Mm.
It catches 25 to 30% more range. And as you keep increasing the height of the guns, the range is more. So it has its own problems. It's not just because you have ranges you can fire at 40 kilometers. Okay, at 40 kilometers, the spread of the ammunition is too much. You don't know where the round has gone. Also, same thing with the rifle. Also, okay, you were aiming and firing somewhere at long range, it will go somewhere else. Then the wind will blow it off. So a lot of things are there in high altitude where you must understand as far as bullets, artillery ammunition, rockets and all are concerned. रॉकेट आप फायर करोगे हवा में रॉकेट फायर करोगे तो और कहीं चला जाएगा वो so it's not so easy okay yeah so the Tibetan height range between 9 to 14,000 feet above MSL. uh, Chinese have relocated. Han Chinese have relocated. They have would have acclimatized naturally. It's not so. Han Chinese and the the plains of China are at zero level. Yangtze, Yellow River, ये सब zero level पे हैं. For them to come 5,000 kilometers and come to 14, 15,000 kilometers and exist there is a ordeal. Let me tell you this. You have any other view on
Definitely.
this, Sanjay? You can tell me.
No, there is no denying the fact. First and foremost, the Tibetan plateau. Now, Tibet is a plateau. Unlike us, we really cross ranges and we go great heights to reach a particular point. For them, for miles, it's a plateau. You can actually drive from one end to the other end without
Mm.
any problem. So there's a little difference in the kind of, and the plateau is around
Mm.
14,000 feet. The Tibetan plateau average height is about 14,000 feet. So you have a different kind of configuration of the terrain over there vis-a-vis what is at our end. But notwithstanding that,
Mm.
irrespective of whatever it is, you have to go through that hardship. You have to go through that harsh
Yeah.
weather. You have to adjust to that harsh weather. It's not easy, like you rightly said, for a person coming from behind, from sea level, to start fighting at 10,000, 12,000, 14,000 or beyond without getting actually fully acclimatized. And that takes a lot of time, and you have to keep turning over your troops very, very often. Yeah,
See, let me give you one thing. I'm sure Sanjay will also agree with me. By the time we finished our service, we had served about 5, 6 times in high altitude at different points of time in our life. So
yeah.
when we went into altitude, we knew what to expect. We could tell our troops what to expect. We could train our troops accordingly. We built on our experience. I don't know whether the Chinese have that experience. Okay. So that is the big difference. It's one thing to go and live in altitude, that's another thing to fight in altitude because you have to be organized for fighting. People say that the terrain that side is simple, easy, flat, you can do everything, you can't do everything. If that was the case, they shouldn't have allowed us to what we did in Kailash Ranges. And they're very scared of this one little fact that our men are tougher. Yeah. So I
And
think
toughness
we've
comes with
done
experience. Toughness comes with
experience.
experience and continuous training. That is the best part.
ये दिमाग को टफ करना
Yeah,
पड़ता है
dimag mein. Yeah, yeah.
दिमाग को जिस दिन दिमाग right okay so I think we'll leave it at this uh,
So nice.
leave it right so I think we'll leave it at this Sanjay thanks a lot
Thank
for
you. Thanks you. Thank
giving
you
a
very
talk
much, sir. Always a pleasure interacting with you and with all your
and
members. Regards.
yeah
Regards.
and all those of you who listen please give this video to others so that people know how well organized Indian Army is to fight in high altitude and what is the difference in what we have told you and what you can get from about PLA. That is ultimately the difference between India and China. Take care. Bye. See you,
Jai Hind.
Sanjay. Thanks a lot. Jai
Thank you.
Hind.
Thank you. Jai Hind, sir.
Jai Hind.